Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Vampire on Nintendo Switch. Vampyr. I have no idea. You pronounce a vampire over here. Article on Econs. It is a rare opportunity and almost a privilege to approach a vampire, to observe their most intriguing physical and psychological traits with a scientific and rational eye. Here are some of the most fascinating abilities I have personally observed over the last 10 years while interviewing a few vampires, or Econ, as they prefer to call themselves. Supernatural speed. A vampire can act and move like a mortal in all his actions, but the trained eye will spot that they have the keenest senses and can react quicker than any mortal. On a few occasions, alarm, surprise, necessity to flee. I have seen a vampire move so quickly it's almost as if they had vanished just to reappear somewhere else. The human eye cannot follow their movements when they act so quickly, but it is not a teleport or dematerialization. It is only a supernatural speed. For me, it is a cat-like attribute, which allows them to run, dodge, or jump longer and faster than us. I also notice that such speed seems to exhaust them, and they are bound to physical limitations. Mesmerism. One of the most powerful abilities a vampire can deploy is the capacity to force a mortal to obey them. I call this trait mesmerism, but it has nothing to do with the mortal ability to alter a subject's mental state. A vampire can bend a mortal to their will, and they can even break a mind. A vampire I interviewed even told me the more a subject tries to resist, the more permanent the damage will be, as if the vampire could literally fracture their target's psyche. The same vampire explained to me that this ability required time to master, and that the results could vary wildly from one subject to another, implant a false memory, or erase a painful one. The possibilities are endless and frightening. Blood awareness. This may be the most catastrophic ability of all concerning vampires, since it is the cause of so many tragedies for them, and us vampires crave for blood. They must use their will to restrain themselves from frenzied drinking every drop of blood they can see. They need blood to function and express their full supernatural traits. A famished vampire can be very weak, even if he cannot die of hunger or thirst. This urge, this need for blood, may explain why a vampire is so aroused by it. A vampire confessed to me that the blood could sometimes blind him, since its smell and attractiveness can be so strong. When he focuses, a vampire can almost see blood in all around him, inside warm bodies, through walls, on a supposedly clean weapon, etc. The same vampire even told me that he can see if a mortal has clean blood or is ill, and that in some cases he can even sense diseases, infected clothes, or even items in a room. If this is true, it could have so many medical applications, it almost beggars belief.
The flower's dying. It needs water.
I have water somewhere. Rest in bed. 3 points. 50% health. Physical prowess. Well, I want that. Bite. Hard biting. Increase the damage inflicted when using bite in combat. Blood capacity. Increase your blood capacity. I probably need that. Defense. Coagulation. You will block your target's blood in the veins, making them defenseless. Blood barrier. You create an invisible barrier to absorb direct damage until it fades or is destroyed. Maybe I need this too. Oh wow, it's 1,000. Damn. Let's confirm. The following night. Major district events. Every night, the consequences of your actions may improve or degrade the district's health status. It can also be degraded due to diseases spreading among the citizens. The more lives you take, the unhealthier a district becomes. If a district's health status drops below the critical threshold, it will plunge into chaos. It is for you to decide of a district's fate. I only killed one person. Not a big deal, right?
If I'm to stay here until my research is complete, I'd better learn to hide my true nature from the mortals. What about my thirst for blood?
Dr. Swansea asked me to collect you, Dr. Reid. Hurry up!
Yes, Nurse Crane? How can I help you?
I'm so sorry. I know Dr. Swansea wanted you to rest, but we have somewhat of a crisis.
A crisis, you say?
Our supply of antiseptics is nearly depleted. I was hoping there was another box up here, but...
There's nothing here.
Sorry. There's nothing here.
Some of the patients won't last the night without them. Honestly, sir, I'm beside myself.
I may have a solution. In France, during the war, drugs shortage was a daily problem, and we had to use our wits to overcome the shortages.
However do you mean?
If combined correctly, certain household chemical products can be used in a pinch instead. Now, where's the hospital storeroom?
The storeroom? Fat chance. This is the Pembroke, and space is luxury we don't have. Everything used to be stored in the old morgue.
Perhaps I should look there first. Where is this morgue?
It's the large building behind the hospital. You'll need to go in the back door because it's been sealed off for sanitary reasons. Take this key. It opens a small back entrance at the end of a narrow street.
The abandoned morgue behind the hospital. A small door at the end of a narrow street. On my way then. Thank you, nurse.
Alright, any more stuff to get?
I cannot enter.
Use hacksaw? That's not a good way to go. Thomas feels responsible for his disfiguration during the war.
Not now.
It's locked, all right.
Looking for stuff.
going to reveal all your secrets to me.
In the name of mercy, they depend on you. Nurses are needed now. Inquire at the nearest appointments of office of the Ministry of Labour and National Service, or write to 15 Kingsway, London.
Even the darkest thoughts in your heart.
My blood and soul, they belong to you now.
The life running in your veins. This dead flesh needs it.
Oh, please spare me, Dark Queen. Spare your obedient slave.
Oh, who are you?
Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reid. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
Your life in London. How's your stay with us?
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Who's treating you?
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Wouldn't blame you.
You don't seem worried by that.
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry. I've learned it's easier not to speak. But be assured I'm smiling inside.
Can I do anything?
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
What's the real cause of your injury?
Why do you feel responsible for the injury, Thomas? What really happened?
I wasn't disfigured by any German shells. It happened during my leave. It was an accident.
What really happened?
Tell me what really happened then.
I went with a whore in Rouen. Dead drunk I was. The hotel was a shithole. There was a fire that night.
Did you start the fire? Were you trying to avoid going back to the front? That's not uncommon, you know.
No. It's just that I was asleep when the flames reached the room. The girl was long gone. Bitch never woke me up. Left me to burn.
Why the lie?
Why lie about it?
Come on. It's one thing to come back disfigured by the Germans. And it's another to get injured in an accident that could have happened to anybody.
Surgery could help you.
Reconstructive surgery has been very successful for some soldiers.
I don't want to wear a bloody mask for the rest of my life. I'd rather stay here and just be forgotten.
First the questions. Oh, okay. Did you serve long?
Where were you stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
I really don't want to talk about all this shit.
No offense. I was pushing too much. I served in France myself. I just wanted to know what happened to you.
You were an officer, weren't you? Then I doubt we fought the same war, sir. No offense.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood. Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reid, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
Oh, I should do personal questions. Have we made friends since you arrived?
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke. Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
What do you do for a living?
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks, and I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Are you a priest?
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
Why not use a cross against William?
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
How do you feel?
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest. And then I can go back to the people who need me.
Your life in London. Situation in the East End docks.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the Dockers' trade union. The wet boot boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Who leads the gang now?
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
About Tom Watts?
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
Corruption?
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
Despair?
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
Your presence in William Bishop's den.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
You're a hero or a fool.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reid. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later. I cannot enter.
Damn. The pain. It's here again.
About the use of garlic and wooden stakes. Dear brothers, I must now draw your attention to the very important point on the use of garlic as a protection against vampires. Let's be crystal clear on the subject. Garlic will never protect you against those creatures. No matter how fresh, how strong, or how smelly, garlic is totally useless as a defense. I can never say enough how damaging that novel of Bram Stoker has been. Yes, of course, population of Slavic countries place garlic cloves in coffins. Yes, of course, inhabitants of Santorini Island hang garlic on their windows. There would be so much to write about this place, and someday soon I hope to get back to this island to further explore its occult tradition. But that is not to protect the living from the devil. It is to tell the dead that they are aware of their malevolence. It is a symbol, nothing more and nothing less. So please, by all means, yes, wear garlic, show garlic, hang garlic, and tell the shadows that you are not afraid. But if you're looking for supernatural protection, you will have to search much deeper into the forgotten secrets of the occult tradition. For here is the truth, my fellow brothers. Garlic does not repel vampire, but all the fresh plants will hurt them. It is as if their bodies could not stand the presence of botanical elements. I have seen an enraged Volp flee when whacked with a rose. Yes, a simple rose. I have witnessed a violent Ekon fall down and beg for mercy when stuck by a wooden stake. I do not know why it is so effective, and it would grieve my left arm to find the answer to that mystery. But the truth remains nevertheless. Vampires are very sensitive to fresh herbs, plants, and woods. From Facing the Shadows and How and Why by Usher Tawdry, Primate of St. Paul. Okay, we don't like plants.
Safe for Reid than anywhere else.
Maybe a fellow vampire. Let's see.
Fear and disgust on every street corner. Daily routine.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reid, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon.
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reid, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
Personal questions. Who are you really?
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
That was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
Are you a patient here?
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Your enemies?
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
We'll take care of you.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
You're a vampire.
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Describe how you feel.
Please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of postulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
Ever heard of Cotard syndrome?
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
Do you require my services, Miss Howcroft?
I have no need for your medicine, Dr. Reid. Blood is the only drug I need.
Someone's affected by Cotard syndrome and believes she is a vampire. Okay. Need to work on her,
I'll
apparently.
leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Okay. There's that other door over there.
It's locked.
Pain. It's here again.
It's locked, all right. Skal voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody.
Photograph on the wall. It's a photograph of a smiling and loving couple with a few words written on the back. Milton and Pippa forever.
It's locked. Behavior is similar to the infected William Bishop. Must be the same strain. This sickness moves faster than influenza.
Okay.
This key will surely grant me access to the basement.
Is that all? Oh, hi. Uh-oh. Got another vampire to deal with.
These skals feed from corpses and the husks of animals. They're not after blood.
No sample from you. Blood absorb. You just acquired a new type of offhand weapon. Equip it and press X to directly absorb blood. Saw Legends guy. Dragonbane. It's an ancient sword with a Latin phrase engraved on the blade, which has been forged in Wales during the 6th century and belonged to Paulus Aurelianus, founder of Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole. Legend says that he had this blade forged before he chose the path of exile and left England with his people. Dragonblade has been passed to each new primate of Brotherhood and may have been used in secret ceremonies. When a primate was sent on a path of war to defeat a hostile creature, the sacred sword was supposedly lost during the schism between the Brotherhood of the Guard of Pyrwin and the middle of the 19th century. It seems few copies have been made, but this is the true and original Dragonbane. Oh, should I use that? That's the knife that absorbs blood. Long, sharp surgical knife. Can't equip it though. And no serums.
It's locked.
Wow, really?
These skals can be so ferocious. I'm not sure I can defeat them without becoming stronger. But to drink blood is so tempting.
I've been doing that all the time, actually. What else is here?
Sodium hypochlorite. Dangerous to administer, but efficient in the proper dosage.
It's finally written on a piece of paper. It seems complex and needs to be analyzed. Water-rich blood sample. A small dose of water-rich blood that can be used to create blood serums for vampires. Boy, I can't really make a whole lot, can I? Oh, hi. Quarantine, contagious disease. One shall enter or leave quarantine area without written blank of the local health authority. An authorized employee of the blank shall alter, destroy, or remove this card. Violating this regulation will be fined. Anything else here? No. Alright, I didn't find everything. Wasn't any place left to explore. I mean, I don't think. Did I miss something? I guess so. Okay. I think it's upstairs. Is it upstairs?
Balls of Mars. Fortifiers. As popular as they are ineffective. But they do contain iron tartrate, and that might prove itself useful.
No, still locked.
I cannot enter.
See, a new citizen investigation is available. Press minus to open the local investigative menu. Citizen investigations. Citizen investigations are displayed here, categorized by districts. You can start a new citizen quest by tracking it with Y, then access your map to locate the area to explore. Citizen quest, find out the cause of death. I have read a report of Dr. Tippett's concerning the death of Samuel Connor. I'm not aware, or I'm not quite convinced right now. Perhaps I should conduct my own investigation to determine the patient's real cause of death.
Mr. Connor's injuries don't match the report. I'd better look into this.
Corner of the lips.
Traces of a pinkish foam at the corner of the lips. Some sort of drug overdose, perhaps?
Damaged legs and arms.
Multiple abrasions and scarring on the arms and legs. Old and distinctive injuries of a sailor or a fisherman.
Open chest.
The chest was originally opened to perform the operation. The sutures are clean, but the chest has been reopened.
Operated lungs.
A puncture over the left lung, possibly a chest tube insertion. Not the cleanest work, but I think it was successful.
Chest hemorrhaging.
Signs of internal bleeding. So, Dr. Tippett's anesthetics were incorrectly dosed, causing the patient's death. And then, he tried to operate on him again. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's time we talked. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's time we talked.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Public notice: prevent influenza. Spanish. Cover each cough and sneeze with a handkerchief. Walk to work. Do not spit. Drink from your own cup. Avoid crowds. If taken ill, go to bed and send for a doctor. To make a mask, take a piece of ordinary cheesecloth, 8 by 16 inches, fold it to make it 8 by 8 inches. Next, fold this to make 8 by 4 inches. The cords about 10 inches long at each corner. Apply over mouth and nose as shown in the picture. Interrogate Gwyneth's Brannigan about the error. Where is she?
A giant morgue disguised as a hospital. That's Pembroke nowadays.
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reid. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
Personal questions. Life in London. How's the situation here?
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
Get a grip.
You must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
Spanish flu won't last forever.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
You've been a nurse for how long?
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
You're right. Change your attitude. Oh, you're right.
You're right. When dealing with such a terrible disease, one must remain humble. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try our best.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse Brannigan.
How's the staff coping?
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why, especially the practitioners?
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Why is Milton so grumpy?
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reid.
Oh, whoops, that's the same nurse.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Which one are you?
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Tippett praises you.
Why does Dr. Tippett's claim you're the main reason he keeps working, despite his fatigue?
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippett does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
Tippett's medical error.
Tell me what Dr. Tippett did. I know his mistake caused a patient's death.
If I had not covered up his error, Dr. Tippett would have been fired from this hospital. I could not let that happen.
You can't allow your emotions to dictate your conduct concerning patients, Nurse Brannigan.
Look around you, Dr. Reid. Do you really think we can afford to lose a brilliant practitioner like Dr. Tippett's in our situation?
You took a great risk.
Perhaps you did it with the best intentions, Nurse Brannigan, but you took a great risk. Must I remind you that a man died?
You mean you've never made a mistake? Never covered your tracks? Come on, Doctor. I wasn't born yesterday.
Tell me what Dr. Tippett...
If I had not...
You can't...
Look around...
Perhaps you...
You mean you...
Okay.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Well, where is Tippett's?
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reid. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reid.
Tell me about yourself.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reid. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
Tell me about your experiments.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What made you choose that career?
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
Glad to help you. Research is exhausting.
I'll give you some advice, but understand that nothing beats practical experience, which can be exhausting and solitary work.
Of course, sir. And don't worry, I will never allow myself to be a burden, neither to you nor this hospital.
About Pembroke Hospital.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
You seem optimistic.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True, true. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Do you need my help?
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reid. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time.
Ackroyd's version for modern methods.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
About your blood transfusion technique.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reid. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father. Ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
Must remain neutral.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior. A man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
I will not let you down, my boy. You always need the words to calm you.
Due to the influenza, this hospital can no longer take any patients. Hospital full. Please go back home. Well, this game is, you know, eerily reverent for the times. Or relevant for the times, I should say. Where is that guy?
The pain. There again.
It's locked, all right.
Long letter. Hello, sis. How are things in the big city? Here in Brum, things are not so good. It seems the flu is here again, and we have many new cases of infection in the neighborhood. Do you remember Mrs. Shelter? Miss Shelter, the old drinking hag from the 3rd floor? She passed away 2 days ago, and her flat is already occupied again. Jeez, you would have to pay me a huge amount of money to go sleep in the bed in which a woman died of the flu just a few hours ago. Sorry, I did not take time to quickly answer your last letter. Between taking care of little Paul, Mum, Dad, and my job at the factory, I rarely find time to write to my favorite sister. By the way, my son says hello to his Auntie Peepa. You should see the little bugger, already driving me mad. And Mum says you bring back some of those marvelous cakes next time you come back home in your last letter. You told me you thought about quitting your job at the Pembroke Hospital. I have to tell you, Pip, you better think twice. There are always jobs at the factory, but wages are shit. And it's as boring as a day without a shag. Oh, I have a new fiancé, and no, I'm no slut, you moral bitch, you. So, if you really want to quit and do something more useful than counting the dead every morning, maybe you better stay in London and join that band you told me about. The Guard, or Priven, something like that. Never heard of them, but if they are like what you said, some sort of civil militia trying to make a difference, then maybe it's a good choice for you. Just be sure to let the others go in front. That's how my poor Billy got killed in France. By leading too many patrols. Bloody war. Anyway, come back as soon as you can, and give me all the good news before that. I'm your affectionate sister, Lucy, Paul, Mum, and Dad. It's Dr. Swansea. I don't want to talk to him. Man. He is like nowhere to be found. Cannot find this Korrigan. Even though he was like the first person I ran into when I got here. Dear Jonathan, I asked Nurse Crane to secure an office for you on the second floor. Please forgive the austere decoration, but Pembroke Hospital is not exactly the Ritz. Sorry to let you discover your office alone, but I need to sleep a little before going back to work. I'm just a mere mortal after all. I also gave orders to let you rest and for the staff to never enter your room. You'll be able to sleep all day without being disturbed, and walk at night without raising any suspicion. I'm afraid this place is quite messy, but you'll be able to conduct your experiments here at your own pace. You'll also notice there is an open window with a scaffold that will allow you to enter or exit the hospital without being noticed. I imagine how awfully new and disturbing this all must be for you. Believe me, I have studied enough of your species to understand what you must now be facing and feeling. Be assured, I'll do whatever I can to help you in this ordeal. Know that you are not completely alone facing it. I'm glad I met you. These dark times are all presently facing. I hope our future collaboration will yield great results. Welcome to Pembroke, my esteemed colleague. We shall talk soon. Alright, where's my workshop? Workshop. This one? This one. You have enough components to craft a medicine treatment for fatigue. Bring the medicine to Dorothy Crane. Downstairs.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reid.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Strickland. Oh, I need to give that wallet back to that guy. Okay, so that's how I can figure out who's who.
Good evening, Dr. Tippett.
Dr. Reid, any good news to share?
I do not have good news.
Corcoran, I want you to tell me about Mr. Connor. How did he die? What happened?
He was my patient. He died because of my mistake. That's the blunt truth.
Who was he?
Who was this patient?
I don't know. Some sick man from the docks. Maybe a fisherman. I had no time to talk with him. No one claimed a body.
Nature of the mistake?
What was the nature of the mistake?
It was a twofold error. My diagnosis was wrong, and the administered dosage was too strong.
Why not stop practicing?
Why not stop practicing?
Are you mad? I killed that man, I admit it, and it won't happen again. I have saved so many lives since then.
I'll cover for you, huh? Oh. Sure.
I will cover for you, Dr. Tippett. by keeping what happened to Mr. Connor to myself.
I don't know what to say, actually. I can't exactly force you to become my accomplice.
You didn't force me. This is my decision to make. I believe you're still of use to the hospital, considering the situation.
Then I can make you this promise. As soon as the epidemic is eradicated, I will resign.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
Okay, where's that, where's that hospital driver? Thought I saw him around here. No, was I mistaken? Oh, what's this?
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked your first miracle, Doctor. Now, this patient here needs immediate treatment.
Duty calls. When the storm has passed, I'll show you how to mix the remedy yourself with the same basic ingredients.
Many thanks, Doctor. When you've finished, you ought to report to Dr. Swansea in his office. He's been looking for you. Seemed pressing.
Diseases decrease the blood acuity of a citizen. Use the correct medicine to heal them. Speak to the patient in the room behind Dorothy to check his medical status. I wish I could tell it when to save. Autosave only is really never all that terribly reliable, but no, well, it is what it is. Anyway, this is Autopostrophe. You've been watching Vampyr on Nintendo Switch. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.